All right. I decided 1 minute early to go live because I can. It's my show. I can do what I want when I want. And I know people will be rolling in here in a minute or two. A few people do. I know they're all over watching Mega Powers with Jerks and Gaines, and they got Jersey Maniac on and Canon. I get that. This is their slot. They dominate. They're the kings of the 8 to 1 o'clock. Hey, Ken, how you doing, buddy? Um, so I wait for them to roll in, and like I said before, this is episode 9. I've done 9 of these so far this year, um, and uh, and I decided I'm going to be the guest. I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Hey, Abby, um, and mainly because it was hard trying to find a guest. It's a it's people pouring in, and this will probably be a nice quick one. Got a few things I'm going to cover. I'm going to bring that up here in a minute. Yes, please smash the like button. I went from 159 to 160 subscribers. I picked up another subscriber. I got to figure that one out. And you see, it's fairly. I have nothing behind me, and I'm going to explain that as well. This has been a big change. So as folks were coming in, oof. So I'm on vacation this week. I finally had to take a week's worth of vacation. September is a very busy month for me, so I kind of had to take that out. It's um, you know, mental health and health reasons as well. Um, I finally got connected with the Department of Veterans Affairs. Uh, Taking care of some things that happened way back when I was in the Marine Corps. So we're starting to get that done. But again, like I said, I am my own guest tonight. Um, so I just want to kind of, so I'll do this. I'll go ahead and get started so I can get through this, and then, like I said, I know folks will give it a replay, but I want to talk about tonight's show. I want to go over a few things. I want to talk about the past 8 episodes. When I first started out with this, I had a plan that I was only going to do one stream a month, and I was only going to do 10. So this is number 9. Next month is number 10. But I'm just going to go over a quick review, go back through my guests. I've had a lot of great guests for this little show. And then I have a plan for 2026. In October, I'm going to stop this for 2 months because we get into November and the holidays, December. It gets kind of hectic for people's time and my time. And plus, I want to start. I decided I'm going to do another season of this starting in January. But before I do that, I've got to get some things straight to make the show more better. As you guys know, I don't do an intro. That's just because I don't have the skills right now to do that. But I'll get into that a little bit. I'm also going to share out of out of those 10 shows, I have some people that I really want as guests. This is kind of like my dream list for guests. Some of these folks I've tried to reach out to, try to get them on the show this year, just things couldn't happen, or I'm just one email in the midst of 1,000 emails to these folks. But if I had my wish, this is the folks I would get. Also, I want to talk about why it's so blank behind me, what's going on with all this, and explain some of that. And then I want to talk about the some video stuff I'm going to do. I've kind of, I kind of only do the one live stream, so I don't go live a lot. And so I'm got some videos planned that I want to do, and then I want to talk about next month, October, season 10, the season finale, season 1. I've got a very special episode planned for that. I'm looking forward to. So, but let's talk about episode recap. So I started this in January. My plan was Monday night, 9 o'clock, the third Monday in of the month. That's kind of where I settled on. And knowing going into this is a very crowded time slot. I mean, there's people that kind of just like I know I don't do this on Saturday nights because we have 3 POA. Tuesday nights, I'm over on Figure Fight Club doing their open mic night. Wednesday's kind of hard because I got some personal things I do on Wednesday, and plus 3 POA does it again. So it's just kind of hard to find that sweet spot that doesn't have a lot of competition. But But I started out with It's Chad as my first guest. When I decided to do this, I decided I wanted Chad to be my first guest. One because uh, he's a GI Joe collector. I'm a big time GI Joe collector, and he's a veteran, and I'm a veteran. I kind of wanted to talk about that kind of space, and that's what we did. We had a really great conversation. It wasn't so much about toys, but it was about collecting in general. So I had a good time with him, and then I couldn't believe the second one is I got the February's guest was Laser Pants for episode 2, Ryan. He was very gracious to come on the show and chat with me with that. I was very pleased and happy that he did that. Because I know his odd demands on his schedule. I'm just some guy just starting out, and he did that. We had a really great time. And then March, it was Articulated Ninja. He was just somebody that's he's again another great guy. Somebody that's kind of his channel blew up over the past last year. The and we just like talking, and we talked about with these guys. I just want to talk about more than just toys, why we collect and stuff like that is good. And then part of this too, I'm in the chats all the time, and so those of you guys are in the chat, how uh how there's a lot that goes on in the chat that's not going on the screen, and during a couple of YouTube, there's this guy John Kukovich. His son Mikey and Zakana do the Figure It Out podcast on a Thursday night, and just some of the things he's put in the chat. And then he also did the Sunday morning show with his son, and we're around the same age, have a lot in common background, and so I got to sit down and talk with him, which was great. Because that's kind of what I want to do with this is have conversations with folks and get beyond the toys a little bit, but just to be able to these folks are all over the country and people I would never get a chance to meet in person. So this would give me a chance to sit down and talk with folks I find interesting. This is why I really started this, is so I could have some one-on-one time with folks I've encountered in this YouTube space that I find very interesting. Would love to get to talk to more. And then I had Abby from Figure Fight Club on next, another great guy. Talking about that, and he's so gracious. Don't know many people that actually once a week open up their channel to a room full of yahoos, to come in and just talk about to show off our toys and talk about stuff, for a few hours. But he gave us a platform to do that, which I'm very grateful for, because that kind of helped me kind of ease into doing this. And then again, another great guy in the chat, Dan, Roll Keeper. I wanted to know what it's like trying to moderate all these things, because at that time he was moderating several channels, where you're not so much participating in the conversation, but you're kind of wrangling those conversations. And discovered a lot of great things about that guy. And then episode 6 was Canon, the guy that went from somebody being in the chat to being on just about every channel out there, now running the shows and stuff like that. And I knew we were the same age, and we have a lot in common, but it's just kind of like there's the way I refer to it is Kate showed me somebody like we were both the same person, and then time split. One of us went left, one went right, and had a great conversation. And actually, that wound up being my longest live stream. And he was very gracious. Normally, he's on the Mega Powers one, and he one night he said, "I'll come do your show." Opposite of that, and I think we spent about 3 hours covering a range of topics. And then last month, another great guy. I watch his videos all the time. The curmudgeon of the collector sphere, Robert Hatch from Robert's Infinite Realms. And that was just a great conversation again with that. So that's kind of what I want to keep going on with that. So I think I've had a pretty good year. And again, I don't have a volume of stuff, but these are just like people because I had to schedule with them, and they got their own things going on. But it's just people I really want to sit down and have some great conversations with, and I think I got them, and they're all up on my channel. If you go look on live, they're there. Please go give them a watch if you haven't. Yeah, roll keeper. So that's kind of how we got from there to here. You know, it's been an amazing journey so far. I've learned a lot. I'm learning a lot with this, um, and I got some plans and some things I want to accomplish with this to kind of keep this tone, but kind of just step it up next. But with that, let's talk about 2026. What I envision for this and for you guys. So the first thing I definitely want to do is I'm going to look into upgrading my hardware and software. It's about time for a new computer for me. I run this whole thing off of a Lenovo all-in-one desktop, using the webcam and stuff like that. And, I don't need a high-powered, high-end computer, but I just need something a little bit better than what I got now. And then probably, investing some money in a better camera and definitely a microphone and all that. Just kind of, just so that, it's technology. It's, as soon as you buy, you open it up, it's already out of date. But I think, if I really want to do this and do this as a hobby for myself, mainly, I need a little bit better equipment to do that. And with that, I'm going to seriously, something I haven't done. I've got some folks I'm talking to that's going to kind of help me with this. Is I'm going to learn how to edit. Everything I do. If you ever go look at my videos, my recorded content, I do all that in one shot, in one take. I will be doing a video and I will mess up in the middle of the video, and I will wind up stopping, deleting it all, and starting it again, because basically I don't. I just have some basic editing software that comes with Microsoft on my computer, and it's clunky, and I really just can't. It's frustrating. It doesn't let me do what I think I want to do. So I'm going to be looking at getting some editing software. So when on my videos content will set, and plus then I'll be able to do stuff like an intro video and an outro video, and things like that to kind of just kind of up the level of production value for the show. That I really think that if I'm going to spend the time doing this, I want to try to do it to the best of my abilities. And so far, this has been the best of my abilities, but I can always learn how to do better. And then I'm going to be playing around with some content. I've done shorts, reviews of products. Most of my reviews have been in shorts, because usually by the time I get a figure or something, it's been out for a while, just because that's how it works financially. So a lot of people already get it out there and they've said all they're really to say about it. So usually I can do a short that just shows one or two things I like or dislike about it. And then I've tried to do some long form reviews with that. I've done some story content about some of my adventures in collecting. I did like the 2 times I met Larry Hama at conventions and got him to sign stuff for me. My trip to Hasbro's headquarters way back in late 90s, early 2000s, that kind of adventure, going to Pawtuck to their headquarters. And a few things like that. Some stories about, some other things that happen with collecting. And then histories. I love history. I'm a big history buff. I'd like to do some content, talk about the histories of, Impossible Pie. Some of the histories behind some of the things in my collection, and why they're in there. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, if I get my editing better, create better content, kind of see what the audience responds to, and to do more of, less of, that kind of thing. And all this, again, time permitting too with that. And then I want to think of, try to find a better slot for the live. We are a kind of a tight knit group of folks, so we all try to watch each other's stuff and support it. So I really don't, I'm not big. I'm not cannibal. I've only got 5 people right now watching. So I'm not cannibalizing anybody's viewership, but it does make it easier if you find a time to do this where, uh, the bigger shows aren't happening. Um, Again, like I said, I love Mega Powers. I watch them, but it's a beast to compete against, folks like that. And I would like to have more viewers, because everybody that's on there, listen. You put content on YouTube, you want people to see it, and especially if you're doing live content, because you want the interaction live. So I'm going to try to figure out, a timer slot that's better suited, but it'll still probably be the once a month um, slot for that, just to kind of keep that going. But I really think that's I'm going to take the next 2 months off. Sorry, from November to December to look at this, and so this will be kind of an evolving thing. I won't start January 1st with all this, but it'll just be kind of an evolving thing going forward throughout the year, so that so probably will be season one will be done. Season two you'll start seeing the slow evolution of stuff in season two, and then if I decide to go to season three, you should probably see a better. It's just how these things work. For that, and if anybody, like I said, watching, you drop a question in the chat, just let me know. I'm kind of going things like I said. It's only me talking. I don't have to wait on somebody else to talk. But just with that, the content. So, um, I have guests. I don't like to lock myself into guests with that. I try to, like after the show, normally I would start reaching out to people saying, "Hey, October's coming up. This is the date in October. Hey, would you like to be a guest on my show?" And I've reached out to several people. Got various replies, no replies. It's just how it is, depending on who I'm reaching out to. Um, and I'm still going to always want to include folks that don't normally get screen time that I run into the chat, to talk with and stuff like that. It says the bulk of my show. But of course, there's these are my dream guests. And I think I have 4 of them listed right now that I really would like to get on for various reasons. And I'm going to show you who those folks are right now. So, of course, listen, I tell people all the time, this whole journey to where I'm at today kind of started with retro blasting. I had looked at, I ran across one of his restoration videos one day several years ago. And as I'm looking at it, and I like to get in contact his content, and they really, really liked it a lot. So and he's somebody that's very hard to get a hold of, and I know he's somebody. I know he's somebody that's extremely busy. Doesn't like wasting time on stuff. But he kind of his content kind of did a few things. And I love his take. I think I know, my opinion, I think he's very misunderstood. But I get it. And I would just love to have him on as a guest, to talk about some movies and, collecting and restoration, those kind of things like that. Since he was kind of the gateway drug into this. And the reason I said so he did this thing on this company called, watching one of his retro Western, he had a guest on there, a guy named Tony Roberts with Analog Toys, the Mad Brit that lives down in Australia. And so I got to watching his content as well. So for retro, I got the Analog Toys, and so I like that humor again, military guy. So I got that in common. I like that. G.I. Joe collector and a 12-inch collector, which I used to be a 12-inch collector as well. Again, I know that's going to be a very hard one to do. I've reached out to him several times, and you don't get any reply back because, again, I'm probably one of hundreds of people that reach out to him on a weekly basis. So, I'm not going to see that. But I would love to get Tony on here to talk about that, because through Tony, I got introduced to this this line of toys that was coming out called Action Force. And this is back, I think, when I saw the video when I finally saw the video, I think the Kickstarter had already closed. So I kind of watched that. And then when it came close to watching again, I got really excited about this and was very glad to announce that he's doing a retail site. And through Tony Roberts' content, that's where I found Valverse. And then which I love the line. And everybody knows I'm a big fan, almost the shill status for Valverse. But I would like to have a conversation with Bobby Val. And Bobby again is somebody I've reached out to, but haven't gotten a reply. But again, everybody's reached out to him, so I understand that. So it's something that's going to take time to do. And mainly too because not only do I like his product, I like his story. It's almost every person's dream to one day to be able to either quit your employer, or if your employer fires you, for you to just have a better life than they ever imagined you could. And just his story about how he started this whole thing. I've seen some interviews with him, but I don't think people have gotten a real in-depth look at that. And I would love to sit down and have a conversation with him about, what life was like the day after all the paperwork was signed and Valverse was an official company now. Now he's got to make action figures, and talk about some of that as well. And then the last one, this is kind of, some people may know this guy, some people may not. Richard C. Myers, he's kind of a controversial figure. He created a comic company called Splato Delgado, and he produces crowdfunded comics. His main one being a title called Jawbreakers. And I ran across him. Again, I'm a comic book fan, have been for a long time, especially in the 90s stuff. And he is one of these things where he was trying to do a comic and kind of ran into some controversy and got shut out of the mainstream industry. And then kind of did the same thing Bobby did, like, well, screw it, I'm going to go start my own company and make my own books. And he did that, and he put out a title that was very nice artwork, very 90s inspired work. And so I've again, it's one of these things that he was doing it crowdfunded. At the time he was doing it, I couldn't afford the crowdfunded, and then waiting a year. And I'm still not a big fan of crowdfunding. I like buying things and getting them within a few days, not waiting a long time sometimes to get that stuff. But yeah, that's the kind of stories I like. I like the folks that kind of buck the system and do things on their own. And I like to talk about some of that with them. And then, of course, like I said, don't see this happening in 2026. But I'm going to keep reaching out to them, and hopefully, somebody out there will watch this on a replay, and or I'll be able to like go to a convention and run into somebody, and we'll be able to set this up and make this happen. Because I would really like to see that, because that's kind of my things. I like having these big goals, where these are the ones I want, and I know sometimes it may take a while to make it happen, but within it, it's like I said, when I get these on, we're going to have some interesting guests on. It's because that's why I like, this to me is a rarity. I don't like talking by myself this long, but but I'm having to do it for this month. But I always like interacting with people, because it's really about people and getting to know folks with that. So that's kind of what I got coming up for 2026. Plans for the show, things like this. And now, so this one, everybody, their backgrounds are so beautiful on their shows. I always kind of felt ashamed, because before I had there's some shelves around with stuff on that, and everybody's got these nice shelves. It's all well lit, and it's all crazy, and through my work, this is my office / hobby area here in my house. This is where my stuff's confined to. And because of some things that were going on, just work-wise, health-wise, trying to put things together, things kind of got out of hand in here to a point. And what I want to do is I want to hit this next slide, and I want to show you my shame. of the way this looks. So this is how my collector space looked here in the studio as of yesterday. Um, well, as of actually early this morning. This is kind of my the one with the X-wings and the Vanguard. That was kind of what you would normally see behind me, way in the back against that wall. Back over there, those little pencil cases are all Marvel Legends figures. That's kind of my storage of that, and I still don't have enough storage for those. Then on the bottom shelf is some comics that stacked up, and then at a shelf that we rescued from somewhere that was holding some of my Valaverse figures on it, and then a cabinet off to the side there that had stuff just in storage. I was loose that, and then of course this is by my desk. Yeah, so by my desk, I have a stack with various comic books and items and things that just all kind of kept spilling over. And then beside me to my right is where that chair and that little table with the pencil cases and more figures stacked. And then that last one is over here to the left of me is where my mini vehicle G.I. Joe collection, my main Valaverse stuff that I'm always tinker with, and then my desk in general was here. And all those boxes on the floor was probably about a week's worth of stuff coming through the mail, Mercari orders, Amazon orders, stuff like that. And I just opened it up and I just tossed it in the pile on the floor before I could get that all cleaned out. So finally, it's really just got to the point where I began to feel claustrophobic and trapped in my own office. And I'm collecting stuff and I wanted to display it better. I just really felt to the point of stress and shame at the way things looked in here. So and part of it was, I just didn't have the time. I'm sure like everybody else, nobody has the time, really. So you kind of have to make time to do that. So I decided, had a very, very good month at work, accomplished all my goals for the month. And then I said, listen, I got some traveling coming up next month that I have to do. And I was like, listen, I need to take the time off to specifically tackle all of this. And so I got a couple of shelving cubicle things off of Amazon that I think will work. So I cleared all this stuff out. The junk on my desk is still here because I'm kind of working from the back wall forward on the desk thing. So tomorrow I'm going to put those shelves together and rearrange some things. And because really, listen, the other thing too is these vehicles too. I got a ramen tank coming at some point that I've got to put somewhere. So I'm going to get all this squared away and then get all this stuff cleaned up around beside me. So that's my week is I work on a little bit during the day at a time and do stuff. I've got, the out of office email on. I maybe will check that once a day just to put out any fires, and then, I've got some other things happen. So what happened was that's just, stuff coming in, hobby, and I couldn't, that's just stuff coming in. I couldn't keep up with it because I'm working and I'm running in here and I'm doing stuff and I'm gone. And I'm pulling stuff out of storage or rearranging stuff and fixing stuff. And it just got to that point where I had to actually stop and do something about it. So over the week, it's going to build, but so I'll get on there and it'll be all nice and pretty. But yeah, I kind of also feel like I needed to yeah, I totally get it. To I kind of needed to show folks this, because I said this is the dark side of collecting. I tell this is what a real collector's room looks like, But like I said, you see all those nice shelves on TV. Yeah, I mean, oh, you can't. Yeah, Ken, 2 tanks. I'm excited about that tank. All I got was the tank. I didn't get the flanks or the bridge layer, but I would love to get the flanks add-on. I've got a spot in this new configuration. I'll have a spot for them. And Yeah, and I know you passed on the takes now, but I know you once Big Bad Toy Store gets you, you'll probably wind up getting one too, because that's a great video. It's going to, so, but yeah, yeah, a lot of mine it's just small pieces that came in and stuff like that, and and it just, but without the time to do it, because I'm up in the morning and I'm running people around. I got the you know uh so what I what I do for a living is, here in the state of Florida, we have a program called the Fire Watch, which is Florida's veteran suicide prevention program. So what I do is I go around, I make connections with businesses and organizations to come in and teach folks, um, especially those places that hire veterans or people that know veterans and high veteran populations. Um, what are the signs of a veteran in crisis, and then how to help them. And September is Suicide Awareness Month, Veteran Suicide Awareness Month. So it's my busiest month. I went and spoke at two very large companies. One of which was on my goal is that when I first hired it, I want to get into this company. It's like one of the largest banks here in Florida. I think they're elsewhere too, but the largest bank in the state of Florida, I got into there. And then a few other large corporations. It was a very busy month, and then plus I just started seeing a doctor with a VA. The first time I've been to a doctor in about 15 years. And so we had a hard conversation about some things. And so I'm like making these appointments, getting all this stuff, and then realize part of it is that I've got to stop and take time. So I'm tackling this mess once I get it all cleaned up and set up again. You'll probably on Figure Fight Club tomorrow night, you'll probably see at least the shelves put up back there that I got from Amazon that I'm starting to. So, but I figured I kind of want something I need to show people to kind of help keep that motivation for me to get it fixed and get it cleaned up with that. So moving past the depressing stuff, I want to talk about a couple of video projects I got coming up. This is I mainly collect 6-inch figures, Marvel Legends, the classifieds, and especially the Valver stuff. And part of the problem is Bobby needs to start making more stuff so my money can be spent there. I got some Mythic Legions and a few other things to Transformers. But so I'm an old school G.I. Joe fan, 33/4 inch fan, and I used to have a very large collection. I've had several large collections over the years, and through various moves and disasters, I've lost pieces, built the collection again, sold it off, and then the last time few years ago, I had to sell off pretty much my entire G.I. Joe collection. So I kind of wanted to start collecting again, especially since I started getting back into a few things. And so the first thing I did is I started with one G.I. Joe vehicle, which was this right here, the Skyhawk. Very simple vehicle, pretty cool looking. And I said, you know what? I wanted to collect the variants of that Skyhawk because that was something that was produced several times during the toy line, in different forms. They did like a Sky Patrol version and all that stuff. And so as I got to look, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different variations of the Skyhawk over the years. And I'm not talking about how like a shade of green, that through production runs, stuff like that. It's like you went from the green. The first one was the green one. The second one was that silver, that chrome paint that they did on it. So on and so forth. So there were 7 mainline versions, and there was 2 versions that were sold overseas, one in Japan, one in Brazil, and then there was a Sears exclusive Dreadnought repaint. So as I got this, I began to think, well, why would there be these variants? Like, what if this was a real world thing? And so, because this vehicle does not work in the real world. G.I. Joe, when it first came out, if you remember, copied a lot of real world vehicles. The Bobat, the APC, the Dragonfly helicopter, mobile missile system, things like that, was based on real world vehicles. And then they just kind of tweaked them a little bit for the G.I. Joe universe. The Skyhawk really didn't fit in with that. Then later on in the line, they got some weird vehicles in there. But so I said, well, what would it, if this was based on, what would that look like? What would that be like? And so I kind of came up with a history of the Skyhawk and each of its variants. Like, how did it get produced? Why there's a variant? And so I started collecting them with the idea of doing kind of like a little documentary on the Skyhawk as if it was a real world vehicle in the world of G.I. Joe. And so it was kind of a struggle because two of the variants that they had were convention exclusives. And if anybody knows anything about the convention exclusives, especially since Hasbro killed the conventions, they're very hard to get, very expensive to get. And so finally, I'd gotten all the ones except for the Sears exclusive. I'm never getting that. That one is very impossible to find pieces of, let alone an intact version. The overseas ones, I think I've seen the Japanese one on eBay for ungodly amounts of money. But I really don't care about those because I don't consider those like if the military did a contract production on those. So I've cut those out. But I came across a guy that knew I was looking for the first convention exclusive they did, and he had one still in the bag, unassembled, which was cool. So I got it from him, and then he found the last one, and again it was a bagged with the figure that came with that one and everything for a very, very reasonable price. That I felt was reasonable price, which is what I was willing to pay for it. And so that's coming in this week sometime. So I finally got that. So if I'm going to sit down, I'm going to try to put this video documentary together on the Skyhawk. And then while I was doing that, because I was so close, I knew I had the lead on the last piece I needed. I figured, well, what am I going to do next? So I was looking at different vehicles that they done for the Joes and for which one would kind of fit in that Skyhawk lineage here. That there was several produced models, but there was variants in them enough to where they would be actually like a different model number for each time they put it out. The Sky Striker is kind of a weird one. And plus trying to find intact Sky Strikers, you can find bits and pieces, but it takes you a long time to put them together. So they're kind of expensive. Then thinking of here, I thought I started doing some armadillos. Actually, I got almost every variant armadillo except for two convention exclusives. I didn't want to have to go through that again. But I wanted something small too because I don't have a lot of space to display this thing. So the Skyhawks are nice and small. So I kind of wanted something that's good. So I came across a Conquest X30. And I did a video on that. There's a guy that had it in the shop, in the local toy store. Gave me a great deal on it. It was an 86 version that was pristine. Everything worked on it. There was no broken pieces. It was super clean. It didn't even have decals on it, which is fine because I can go get decals online. And so I said, I think the Conquest is what I'm going to do next. So I've got that Conquest, and I bought a beater Conquest off of Macari and some bits and pieces and parts. I've got something I'm going to do with that. And there was only did 186, 98, 98, 3, 4. I think 5 or 6 Conquest variants that are actually different production variants, including one convention, which I know where I could get a convention one at that, and kind of do the same documentary style story of if this was a real world vehicle, how that production would have come about and how each one would be a variant. So that's kind of my thing. And then kind of I wanted to kind of build a Joe collection again, 3 3/4 inch of one of that. But there's just so much things that you can collect. So I decided what I'm going to do is as time goes on, I'm probably going to concentrate on just aircraft for GI. Trying to build a small collection, and I'm actually looking at some that I'm looking at as doing restorations on, because I think that's kind of fun to kind of build that out and clean it up, and if there's not too much problem, you try to find the parts and pieces with that. So I've got like a Storm Eagle coming for some folks, and found the piece for that. We'll probably never do a Sky Striker. Just that's a massive amount. And I'm really not looking. I kind of look for those one-off air vehicles. So I generally call it the Jet Aircraft Museum that I'm kind of trying to put together with that. But I'll do videos of that stuff with that. So there's some video projects I got coming up, which is why I want to kind of increase my editing skills and kind of get that going with that. So I'm looking forward for doing that. So with that, I think the next one is let's talk about the next one with episode 10. This is something I'm really excited about. Is and I've already confirmed this, and I'm going to recheck again because things could change. But for my 10th episode in the season finale, I wanted to bring Chad back on. I kind of wanted to end the season where it all began, as with Chad. It's kind of weird. You don't have the same guest on twice. Well, yeah, because a lot has happened since that first episode to now, both in my life and his life. As well. And I kind of wanted to end this first season with that one, because I had a really great time with them. And plus it's going to be a little bit different because, the first episode I talked to him, I got to know him a little bit better, and we talked about, beyond the collection a little bit and a few things as well. But when I reached out to him and said, I want to do something different this one, because him and I kind of agree on one thing when it comes to JoJo, especially, the classified series of figures. I think there's a lot of missed opportunities with that series, and I love it. I got a lot of classified figures, and I'm trying to collect the original 13 as well. But I kind of felt like they could have done like they should have done the retro card series first and given us those characters as basically 6-inch versions of the 3 3/4-inch versions right off the bat. Then the actual classified series should have been, if they're reusing the same characters, give them updated looks and modern gear, or give us new characters as well. Because they tried doing that when in the post 94 line of stuff. They gave us some new characters, but then eventually they fall into that trap where there's like, like 3 3/4 one's got like 60 versions of Snake Eyes, and 80 versions of Cobra Commander, and 50 versions of Duke, and we keep getting Duke and Scarlet over and over again, and just the same ones over and over again, and that in the original Real American Hero run is you had this, and they had that a lot to Larry Hama, is they built this mythology around G.I. Joe, and so we wanted to see. So my challenge to Chad was, and I did this, is that here's what we're going to do: is we're going to turn the clock back to the early 2000s, and Hasbro has given us the G.I. Joe line, and they said, okay, we're going to we canceled this line back in 1994, and we're going to relaunch it with all new characters. This will be a continuation of the series of G.I. Joe, but we're moving it forward, because they kind of did that a little bit when they released the Joe versus Cobra line and the Valor versus Venom, and going into the 25th anniversaries, they gave us some new characters mixed with the old characters. And then those characters have just been forgotten about going into this new line forward. So I said, well, here's the challenge. What we're going to do is we're going to look at those lines between the relaunch in 98 up until the 25th anniversary. And then, of course, we got in the Pursuit of Cobra line. So basically anything beyond 98 when they relaunched is we're going to look at some of those characters that haven't been used in the they weren't originally used in the comics. Um, there, but and we're going to pick 10 of these characters, 10 brand new characters for a 21st century GI Joe team. Um, and we're going to reveal our who would be our original 10 for the new team with these characters. I'm kind of interested to see which ones he picks and which ones I pick to see which ones kind of we get right. We pick the same ones because that probably shows that was probably carried if they would have spent some time and attention on it. They would have done good with that as well. And then I did say the one caveat is we're going to pick an 11th figure, and that 11th figure will be somebody from the original 82 to 94 line that could conceivably be the commander of the team today. Like, Duke would be in like his Hawk would be in his 80s nowadays. Duke would be in his late 70s. Snake Eyes would be in his 70s. Scarlet would probably be in her mid to late 60s. Stuff like that. So so I wanted to pick one that could conceivably still be in service today, but acting as the commander of the team. So that's kind of that I did. So it's a little wriggle exercise we're going to do with that as well. And with that, that's it. That's just kind of, I wanted to just take this opportunity to, thank everybody. Again, I was kind of surprised to see, when I clicked on the 160 subscribers. That's, now I'm up to 161. So somebody else has subscribed when I did that. So it's a slow grow. That's the way these things are. But again, because all of us are multiples on multiple channels, and just the folks that show up for this, yeah, I've got this sitting in my Amazon cart, and I want to pull the trigger on it, but I'm hesitant because it's over $100. Is they finally have the Marvel Comics comic book, the NAM, the omnibus, in one bound hardback. I've been really wanting to get that book, so bad, to get all that collection. So yeah, and I know because I work with a lot of Vietnam veterans. Vietnam veterans be in their 70s. So, but I got to pick. I've got one I think would work for this little thought exercise, and I'm just kind of trying to wonder which one Chad's going to pick as well. But that's what this is. But this has been an amazing 9 months, and it's going to be 10 months. This first year has been great. And I appreciate everybody, those that show up for this one, to watch this live. And, I get a very good bump, for the side channel. I have a reasonable bump on the replay squad, as well. So shout out to the replay squad. And I'm always, you get your comments on it. So please, if you're watching this, again, hit the like, and especially if you're on the replay squad, hit that like button and throw something in the comments, so we can acknowledge that. And I'm looking forward to, I'll see everybody around like tomorrow night. Should be open mic night over at Figure Fight Club, and I want to pop into there, hopefully with some of my shelves up, and to show some of my recent pickups. And then I'll just be seeing everybody in the chat here and around again. So and also too, if you guys know anybody, have a personal connection to those guys on my big dog list, help me to connect with those guys, and I'll set it up as well. So I'm gonna have to go. The post office screwed up a delivery, so I get to get up in the morning and go down to the post office, and can't figure out why they didn't deliver a package to my house, but delivered it to a house 4 zip codes away from me. So that's going to be fun tomorrow. But I'm looking forward to it. I know it wasn't on last week, but that's because I was just wiped out this past week with that. But again, reach out to me, let me know, guys. Thank you, and have a good night. Again, because I'm still doing this whole way, I have no outro music. So with that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a button that says end stream. And then, of course, it has to ask me, do I really want to end the stream? and I want to say yes by hitting the button. So good night.